All right, so I'm just doing this video because I kind of want to just dispel this myth that a lot of people have about do you can you catch a cold from cold air or walking outside in the cold air without jacket? So the easy answer to that is no, you cannot. That's not how it works. That's actually a very big myth that is spread throughout most families, a lot of families, especially from the older generations to the younger generations. They believe that going outside in cold air means that, oh, you're going to catch a cold. It's called the cold, but that's just because of the design of the name, the ignorance behind it. And I don't like calling people stupid. I say ignorant. And that's what it is. It's based off of ignorance. You don't get sick from cold air necessarily, or catch a cold or the flu from cold air. The cold is caused by viruses. They're a group of viruses called rhinoviruses, and you catch a cold from a virus. You don't catch it from the temperature of the air. The reason why people tend to get sick more often in cold weather than hot weather is pretty simple. In cold weather, the the air is dry during the winter and the fall. The air is dry, whereas the summer and late spring, the weather is usually hot and then humid. Humidity makes it easier for viruses to travel through the air, and then also, um, I said that backwards. Humidity actually makes it harder for viruses to travel. So the spring and summer, viruses have a hard time surviving and going airborne because the humidity in the air causes those, say if someone sneezes, for example, those droplets of snot or mucus, they go into the air when you sneeze, or the droplets of spit. So the humidity in the air um causes those colder particles of mucus, as they travel through the air, they actually contact the water vapor that's in the air, which water vapor is water in its gas form. So it causes the water vapor to condense on those water droplets of from that are in your snot and your spit, and causes them to fall to the ground. It's like rain in a sense. So it causes the particles to become heavier, and they don't stay airborne as long, and it's harder for them to stay airborne, so they fall to the ground. And then another part to that is simply we're outside more often when it's warm and hot outside. We're not just cooped up in houses and buildings all day. Whereas in the winter and the fall, we tend to start staying indoors more. We're around people much more often. Instead of people working out their body outside, they tend to work out at gyms. So that cold air makes it easier for, if someone does sneeze or cough in that cold air, it's easier for it to travel through the air because it doesn't have that humidity that's going to make those droplets of mucus or spit heavier. It's going to travel, it's going to stay airborne longer. Those particles are going to suspend themselves and float through the air longer, and they're going to be able to survive much more easily because viruses and bacteria actually survive better in colder air than they do in hot air, especially when the air is humid, as I said before. So no, it's misconception. You do not get sick from cold air. That's not, I've heard that many times as a kid. Oh, if you don't put on your jacket, you're going to get a cold. That's not true. So it's just the simple fact that being in cold air makes it easier for viruses and bacteria to last and travel. And then at the same time, when you're indoors a lot more when it's cold, so you're going to be in closer proximity with people. So that also makes it easier for you to get sick during the colder months. So that's what it is. Whether you have your jacket on or not is not going to stop you from getting a cold. Whether you have on a skull cap or not is not going to stop you from getting a cold. So no, I mean, it is not true. I'm tired of hearing that myth is not true. I've heard it many times in my family growing up, and I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You'll get a virus because it's going through the air, it's airborne, or for somebody else that's sick, if they sneeze or cough, it's going to travel better in that cold air than it is that warm air if it's warm outside. The temperature does not make you sick.